Mother Knows Death, starring Nicole and Jemmy and Maria Q. Kane.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mother Knows Death. On today's episode, we're going to get into the untimely death of Kelly Clarkson's husband. Brandi Glanville's face is back in the news this week, so we're going to talk about that. Another weird accident on a cruise. Fake doctor who is doing home genital exams. A teen who went missing and texted his mom for help before being found dead. And a viral video of a woman's drastic face change during pregnancy. All that and more on today's episode. Let's get started with Brandon Blackstone, who is Kelly Clarkson's ex-husband.
Okay, so you just made the same exact error I know I'm going to make, is that his last name is Blackstock, but I keep also saying Blackstone. And when I was writing my notes, I just kept writing Blackstone instead of Blackstock.
Oh.
It's like this weird error we're both making. But last week, Kelly Clarkson posted that she was postponing her Vegas residency to be with her kids because their father, her ex-husband, was sick, and that kind of shocked everybody because she doesn't really often share her personal life. And the very next day, reports came out that he died.
Yeah, it's really sad because he's only 48, right? So, and they said he was battling it for 3 years. So just imagine getting diagnosed with something. I mean, that's how old I am. It's just devastating to get some kind of diagnosis like that. So I thought it was actually kind of weird because I don't know who these people are really, but I do remember, I mean, she was like an American Idol person or one of those types of people. Where'd she come from?
She came from American Idol, but
Okay.
I mean, she had like the most, probably, I would say she had the most successful career coming from that show, and she was really successful.
Yeah, I mean, I heard her songs and stuff. It's just, it's not my cup of tea, but like I know who she is. So I just remember vaguely hearing in the news over the past couple years that she was getting divorced, and it seemed that it was like really messy, right?
Well, this is what's really interesting. So her agent was her ex-husband's father initially. So his name was Narval Blackstock, and he was married to Reba for years. I think like over 20 years they were married. So him and Reba ended up getting divorced because Reba said that their marriage was basically all business. Like all he could ever talk about was business. I assume he was managing her as well. So I find this really interesting because Brandon Blackstock ended up managing Kelly Clarkson at some point in their marriage, and it seemed like he was doing the same deal, like making a bunch of deals without her consent, charging her a lot of fees behind the scenes that she wasn't aware of until seemingly after they got divorced. Or maybe that came to light and that's why they got divorced, because she was like, you're taking advantage of me and you're my husband and we have children together. But they got divorced in 2020, and after that, it was just so contentious. He was trying to get all this money from her. She had to pay him this lump sum of over $1 million, and then she had to pay him this astronomical spousal support on top of child support. Then a couple years ago, he ended up owing her all this money because they proved that he was charging her an excessive amount of fees when brokering deals for her. It's been a mess.
I don't understand how he's charging her fees if they're married. Like, isn't it all the same?
Well, I guess
money?
not, because a typical agent fee would be like 10% of a deal. And if he's brokering the deals, think about if Gabe was brokering deals for you, would you assume he was maybe charging you 15 or 20%, not the average 10%? You want to think the money's all going to the same place.
Isn't it? But it is. Like, if he was charging me 50%, like it still would be his money. I don't know. Whatever. I don't get involved. I have no idea how people that have money like that live. But regardless, like, that's all I remember. And then I was thinking, like, God, this all was going down when he went when he was going through this cancer. But apparently it didn't happen until after they were divorced, I guess.
Well, so they're saying he was privately battling it for 3 years. So let's say he got diagnosed in 2022. I mean, in 2023, December of 23, that's when he was issued to pay her over $2.5 million. So, like, their legal problems were going on into his diagnosis. But maybe at that time they didn't know how severe it was.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the cancer he has, which is melanoma. So it's a I wouldn't consider it to be a rare skin cancer, but it's not as common as other types of skin cancer. And it's been in the news a lot. We've definitely talked about it on Mother Knows Death often because of Teddy Mellencamp. She has
Mm-hmm.
stage 4 melanoma. Khloe Kardashian had it removed. She had a pretty large resection done on her face for melanoma. And when you get diagnosed with it initially, if you get it taken out and it's very local, which means it's just in that area where they cut it out and they get it all out, you have a very high chance of surviving it. And at that time, it's not considered to be a bad cancer. But once it spreads, if you do not catch it early on, it's one of the worst cancers. So that's an important thing when you see any kind of abnormal lesion on your skin, that you should go get it checked out right away, because the earlier that you get it taken care of, the better. So I didn't even know who this guy is, and I just looked at a picture of him because I wanted to see if he fit the classic person that you would think has the most increased chance of melanoma. Someone like my son-in-law, Ricky, who's like a pale ginger with body freckles and red hair, is like the people that are most
The
common.
prime demographic.
Yeah, just
for
like
it.
people that have especially people that have light hair, like blonde, blue eyes, white skin, they're at the most increased risk of it. And then secondly, men who are over 50 years old are at the highest risk of it too. So this guy got diagnosed when he was 45, so he's kind of a little young, but melanoma is also one of the most common cancers that occur in younger people. So um, we even knew a kid that had a lesion removed and it was precancerous at like 10 years old. So it could happen. It's not that it doesn't happen. But her husband is he's fairly light skinned, but he has more of my coloring. Like he doesn't look like the typical super white boy kind of. He's got dark eyes and he's got dark hair. So he doesn't look like the classic person that would be at the highest risk for melanoma. Secondly, I look at him and he doesn't look like a sun worshiper. He doesn't look like he has sun damage to his skin. I mean,
No,
not to say that he doesn't, but he doesn't have any kind of solar damage, you would say, to his skin.
no, but they also lived on a pretty big ranch, and it seems like he spent a significant amount of time on the ranch
Yeah,
outdoors, so that could have been a contributing factor
it
too.
is possible. I mean, obviously, it's possible it happened. He also another thing sometimes you see in people that have an increased risk of melanoma is they have a lot of moles. You could look at their skin and you could just see that they have them all over their body, right? And he just doesn't have any of that. But like you're saying, like if he's outside working and having that damage, it's possible. And then furthermore, if he has anyone in his family that's ever had a first what you would call first degree relative, like a parent or a brother or sister that had melanoma, you're also at an increased risk. So we don't really know anything. We don't know where it started. All we know is that clearly it spread all over his body and he died of stage 4 melanoma.
I mean, yeah, and with everything I knew they were going through, I think obviously she's taking off mostly to be there for her kids, but I do think it's cool of her that she could kind of put everything aside and be there by his side and be with her children during this horrific thing. I mean, I don't know how you would get over something like this as a kid that just, I mean, her kids are under 10 years old, you know? It's
Yeah, I
going
feel
to be
bad
really
for
hard
them
on them.
because it's already hard that your parent. I mean, I can't even imagine parents getting divorced. What that's like on children as it is, and then go and even though it seems like she was trying not to talk shit on him and stuff the whole time, like kids aren't stupid. They know what's going on.
Yeah, he had two other kids too from a previous marriage, and one of them had just announced that she was pregnant too. So that's just really sad to have to go through that for the whole family.
So she was doing a residency. What's a residency in Las Vegas? That's like when people are on, at a hotel for a while or something like that.
Yeah, it's like typically musicians will tour and go to different cities every single weekend or day or whatever they do. But that's like when you're in one place and playing at one hotel for an amount of time. On average, on average people do it typically for a couple months, but some of the bigger stars do it for like only a couple weeks or something. Like that's what I was telling you. Um, with Dolly Parton's doing, I guess, like what's considered a mini residency in December. So she's only playing a couple of days, really, but it's over a couple weeks span at the same venue in Vegas.
Oh, okay. Like, I just was wondering, like, if they actually have to live there because they're performing so much and stuff. Like, how you have a family and deal with something like that.
I think I've heard, like, when Katy Perry did it, for example, I think she was only, I could be totally wrong about this. I'm just going off of what I remember. I think she was playing on the weekends, so she would fly home during the week and then go back. Because if you live in LA, it's such a short
Yeah,
flight.
yeah, that's true.
Or it's only a 4-hour drive. So, I mean, you could realistically shoot over. But I would say if you're there for months at a time, you probably just are living there for the couple of months and then moving back.
All right, so okay, let's stop talking about this now because it's kind of sad. So let's talk about another. This is another sad case, honestly. Brandi Glanville. I think a lot of people think that she's kind of a flake, and I could see why people are getting that, but I do feel bad for her for whatever's going on with her.
Yeah, I mean, we first reported on this, I guess, back in December when she first came out with it, where she was saying that she thought she contracted this parasite in her face while they were filming Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip in Morocco. And then, I don't know, I feel like at the time youth didn't think that was what it was. And I still don't think she has answers almost a year later.
So yeah, I recall, and I didn't even look back to see what I said because I'm gonna say what I still think, which is what I recall I said is that she looks like she was having some kind of a foreign body reaction to the fillers that she had in her face. You know, these, especially a lot of these reality stars are filling their face up with these fillers, and she has this very lumpy appearance underneath of her skin. Sometimes they get other things besides fillers, like injected underneath of their skin, and it just looked like her skin was having some kind of a granuloma reaction, I would call it, which is when the body recognizes something as foreign, and then it kind of tries to build a wall up around it, and her skin just has this very weird lumpy appearance. And I also remember saying back then that this is something simple that could be answered with a biopsy. So, you know, what's that guy's name? The botched guy?
Oh, Terry Dubrow?
Yeah, so apparently a couple months ago, he did 4 biopsies on her face, and they came back and showed nothing, which means that, and I don't know what nothing means, because that could mean it didn't show cancer. Like, people have a big definition of it showed nothing. I have a hard time believing that her skin looks like that without there being something present, but whatever she thinks is nothing, they were saying, okay, well, they also apparently took fungal cultures and mycobacterial cultures, which are things that could take a little bit longer to grow, which I know from personal experience because my little one, Lucia, went through a similar thing that she had this, you know, we always talk about this autoimmune bone thing that she had, but then she went on this drug called Humira, which ended up giving her psoriasis. And at some point, one of the psoriasis patches on her leg just got insane looking. It was like eating a hole away at her leg. And the doctors just kept trying to treat it with all these different creams and medications, and it wasn't going away. And finally, they biopsied it, and it was kind of like same thing. It didn't show really anything, at least anything that would explain why it looked so crazy. But then weeks later, I mean, maybe even like a month later, we found out that it was this really unusual bacterial and fungal infection, and she was treated with the antifungal drug for a long time too. So I know the frustration that she's going through because Lucia's leg was like, there was a possibility of like she might need surgery. I mean, at this point, I think still to this day that she might need some kind of surgery to repair it because you could see her muscle underneath of this huge lesion on her leg, and it doesn't look like the skin is very, very thin there. And if she has any kind of minimal trauma to it, it's going to be a problem. But anyway, I mean, this was done back in like February or something. So it appears since she hasn't said anything, it doesn't look like anything grew and they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I just find this really interesting because I guess as a way to make it feel a little better, she's been able to exfoliate her face, but then now she's taken it one step further and put Nair, the hair removal cream, on her face, and it's left her with these severe burns. I don't really understand what she was thinking by putting that on there.
So she has no answers, and up to this point, she keeps telling people that she has a parasite on her face and she could visibly see it moving underneath of her skin. But according to all of these, I mean, she's seen lots of specialists like immunologists, infectious disease people, and nobody knows what it is. So I don't know if they think that this is a mental thing that's going on, or possibly she does have something going on that they're just not able to see. I just don't know of anything that would be presenting like this that would not be able to be identified either through a biopsy or cultures or blood tests or all these other things. So I really don't know what's going on with her there, but I personally think like something's going on, because clearly you look at her skin and you're like, okay, it's very nodular. It looks very angry.
Yeah, like,
So-
I don't understand how that would be mental because that looks outrageous. I don't even understand how you could do that to yourself.
Well, the problem is, though, if she's doing weird shit to whatever initially was the problem, like, certainly I think that every single doctor in the world would advise, if you have inflamed, angry, some kind of process going on in your skin, the last thing you should be doing is putting a chemical like Nair on top of it, because it's just pissing it off even more. So putting something like that on there just makes it angrier, and it could just increase the nodules and increase the scar tissue. Like, it's not a good idea. So when you have patients that are kind of like home treating with these things, that's why, like, you look at it and you're like, oh, it looks so bad, but you're like, she could be making it look that bad because she keeps putting shit on it that she shouldn't be putting on it.
Yeah, and I think she's facing a lot of criticism. I had touched on this on the first time we covered it, but they had filmed this season and she allegedly molested or sexually assaulted, not full-blown sexually assaulted, but she allegedly inappropriately groped one of the other women, Caroline Manzo. So Caroline Manzo's been in this massive lawsuit with Bravo, and I don't know if you saw this in the article, but she said she's calling the parasite Caroline, which I'm like, considering there's this giant lawsuit that you're involved in, maybe you should be doing that. But I think that's why she's facing a lot of criticism, because it doesn't really reflect well on herself, even though she claims she's innocent. But the timing is just really weird, and they haven't aired it yet, and there's all this drama surrounding it.
Yeah, the whole thing is just weird. I think she claims that she got this parasite while eating food or something in Morocco, and it's just like, I mean, you can get a parasite that burrows underneath the skin that you could see underneath of your skin, like scabies or something like that, but it's just that would be seen on a biopsy for sure. And even the doctor Terry from Botched said that he didn't think it was anything like that. I think that his number one thing I saw that he thought it was a foreign body reaction too. And on top of that, the secondary thing was like, oh, maybe it's a weird fungus or something that takes a longer time to diagnose, but we would have known that by now. And I guess furthermore, I guess we could say that if she's going through the extra steps to do all these weird treatments like Nair, which I think is kind of irresponsible, because she made some kind of video to say like, hey, why would you spend money on chemical peels when you could just do this at home, which is just like absolutely terrible advice to give anyone. They do make Nair because people have like peach fuzz and stuff on their hair. They make Nair for your face, but like it's a less strong formula, and you should only leave it on for the recommended time. And even then, like, you could get chemical burns from it, even if your skin's perfectly healthy. Like, I personally would never put that shit on my face, right?
Well, I used it on my legs once and it burned so bad. Like, I don't know if I just had a bad reaction to it or what.
Yeah.
But
So I don't really know, but I'm just saying, like, if she does this home stuff that she's kind of making up, it's totally possible. Especially like sometimes people get fillers that they don't go and get like hyaluronic acid from your dermatologist. They get like weird shit from weird people that are injecting weird shit like silicone and stuff in people's faces. And if she had anything like that, that's definitely there's so many documented cases of people getting silicone in their face and then just having these horrible foreign body reactions to it. So I don't know. We'll keep you guys updated if we hear anything
You know what I just thought of though is like when the story first came out was give or take around the time the lawsuit story was really picking up. And this story just came out in the last week or two, and this really big book by a girl that was on Vanderpump Rules just came out, and she had an affair with Brandy's husband and described it in the book. So I'm like, I'm not accusing her of anything. I'm just saying the timing for both situations is a little.
What are you saying, that she's
sus.
just like extra stressed out or something?
She's
Or
extra
she
stressed.
just wants like attention taken away from that?
Yeah, maybe she's extra stressed out, or she's acting out as a response of these things happening in the press. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? But I don't know what's going on. I'm just saying, like, I just put that together with Sheena's book coming out in the last 2 weeks and this coming out in the last 2 weeks. And then the last time this was a story was when the lawsuit news was really picking up. So I do think it's kind of interesting, but
All right.
I
Well,
don't know.
we'll stay on top of this really important story.
Well, for me it is, and probably like 5 people that listen to the show, but I don't know. So, all right, our next story is another cruise incident. Do you feel like this many cruise incidents are always happening, or we're just more aware of it? Because
I don't know, yeah, cuz like I never cared about a cruise cuz I always was that person that was like I'm never going on one, so I just think I blocked it out of my head, and now that we've been on one, it's like so many things seem to be happening.
Yeah, it is just really weird. But okay, so on the Royal Cruise, same brand we went on, the Icon of the Seas, the water slide broke, and there's this giant hole in the middle of it, and you can see the water pouring out onto the deck, and people are screaming, "Stop the slide!" Because obviously, if someone were to go down the slide and go over it, they would get really hurt. And I guess that one guy did go over it right before it broke, but he did get injured from the crack.
Yeah, so I guess it's a clear part of the water slide so you could look out of it. Usually it's like a bright colored acrylic plastic thing. But bright red or bright green or something, but this one had a section that was clear that looked like glass, but it was acrylic. So that broke somehow, which is actually weird because it doesn't appear that it's at the seam. It just appears that it's like randomly in the middle of it, which
Yeah,
is
it's like such a weird place.
and it, what really what scares me about it, I guess, is that prior to starting the rides every day, I assume that they're checking them to make sure that that there's no situation like this. And I would think that if the acrylic was weak in one spot, like you've ever seen a piece of plexiglass or something, like you could tell that it's kind of cracked and it looks like it's about to break or something. It's just, you would think that that would have been visible, but maybe they're only checking the seams because that would be the most likely place that something would break, unless the guy that went on the slide was over the weight that you should be able to go on it. Like, we don't know any of those details, but apparently, like, favorite word, they said that he got lacerations on his back and on the back of his thighs. So in my opinion, if a piece of acrylic plastic like that is broken, it's almost going to be as sharp as a sharp weapon, like a knife, right?
Oh, totally.
And that would not really cause a laceration, because a laceration would be caused by blunt trauma, such as getting hit in the back of the leg by a baseball bat or a blunt object. And when you get an injury that is from a sharp object, such as glass or even very sharp plastic, that would be considered a sharp force injury or an incisional wound, and it's not a laceration, and they misuse it all the time, and it drives me freaking crazy.
I feel like there's another story coming up this week where they misuse it too. I don't remember off the top of my head. I have it as a note somewhere.
So I think so too, but I think one of them is actually correct for once. So I don't know, but yeah, just it's just constantly is driving me crazy. So
Louis brought up a really good point too, that he said he thought from pictures it appeared that part of this slide went like over the edge of the boat. And can you imagine it breaking there and then falling into the ocean or something if you fell off? I don't know. It's so scary to me. Anything that happens on these boats is scary. And then I was reading also that the cruise didn't tell anybody what happened. So unless you saw it online or you were on the pool deck when it happened, you just had no idea this happened.
yeah, I mean I know they closed the water slide afterwards. Big deal.
And then as of this morning, it was reported that the guy that got injured has retained a lawyer, which I would say
Oh,
this is lawsuit worthy.
yes. Because I can't even imagine how scary that is. But it's cool. It is kind of cool that they interviewed all these people that were witnessing it and taking the videos and stuff, and they're like, I am never going on one of those again. Like, obviously, I don't even want to go on one again after seeing that.
Remember that I don't even know if it was on this or if it was a gross room post or what. It was in the last couple years. There was that roller coaster that had the crack in the support
yes.
beam.
Yes.
That's what I was
and
thinking
it was like
of.
shaking and it wasn't attached, correct? I know.
Yeah.
It really, when you watch the video, it almost makes you panicked to watch this whole and hearing the people scream to stop the ride when you're just like, oh my God, what if they don't hear and no one's communicating with them and they send like a kid down and the kid falls out of the hole or something, or an adult, whatever. Like the whole thing is just like, it gives you that gross panicky feeling that you could see something really bad is about to happen.
I wonder if they have some type of emergency alert system on the ground.
I'm sure they do, because usually when you go on rides like that, you see the people have some kind of like micro or like an intercom, like a walkie-talkie situation or whatever. But
yeah,
that it's also weird too, because if I'm correct, that's their newer ship, right? Like it's only a year or two old. It's not like this is a water slide that's been there for 10 years. It's a pretty new one.
Yeah, I believe you're correct with that. Because I think it's currently considered the largest active cruise liner, but their new ship is bigger than that. And that's going to be, it's either about to launch or like it's going to be ready in the next couple months.
Yeah, so I mean, just because I feel like a couple incidents that we talked about have been with this particular ship, but obviously I feel like it holds almost double of what was on our ship. So you're going to have more incidents.
Is this the same boat as the other incidents from the last couple weeks?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh my God, I didn't even put that together.
I think at least the one with the person falling over the edge of the pool. But that's like, that was a human error too. And the murder one, yeah, that one too, I believe. The one where the guy killed the woman, and then he tried to kill the woman and then he jumped overboard.
Yeah, wow.
I believe so, yeah.
They need to really maybe put this boat on pause and see what so much shit's going down.
Maybe they should hold CrimeCon there, because that would be like
an active investigation on the crime cruise.
Have a whole entire on the crime cruise. Just have a whole entire time talking about all the incidents that happened on that particular ship.
That is a great idea. Kelly or Kevin, if you're listening, I think this is the way you should go for the crime cruise. This episode is brought to you by The Gross Room.
Guys, The Gross Room is on sale for only $20 for a whole entire year of gross. We don't put it on sale that often, but right now you could check out. We have hundreds of high-profile death dissections, we call it. Every week we either do a high-profile death dissection or a celebrity death dissection. Last week we did Hulk Hogan for celebrity. This week we did the tragedy of missing boys in Camden, New Jersey. So anyone that's local to us knows exactly what that is. But we really go through, I don't want to give you away too many details of what happened, but it's just a kind of a shocking case of kids that went missing and not what you would typically think would happen. We also had another really interesting rectal foreign body case in the Gross Room. I feel like we have at least one of those a week, because I have a lot of them on the back burner as well. And we have this really disturbing video about why doctors ask you if you've had any foreign travel. So all that and more on the Gross Room this week. And we also have, of course, our YouTube live this Friday at 12 noon.
Yeah, head over to thegrossroom.com now to get 1 year of gross for only $20.
This week, not in this particular episode, but just this week on Mother Knows Death, we have a couple stories of people who are pretending to be healthcare professionals when they are not.
Well, this was a particularly unusual one. So this guy was found guilty of practicing medicine without a proper license after it came out he was luring men to his apartment for home genital exams. So this guy was seemingly a resident in 2022 when he was doing this. And he joined this running group and had told the men in his running group that he had to get like so many hours doing ultrasounds to complete his education. So they go to his house and agree to it. And then he ends up examining their genitals, which they say they didn't know was going to happen. And he videoed the whole thing.
Yeah, so one of the guys went home and told his wife and was like, that was kind of weird. And then she agreed and they reported it and this all came out. But I mean, so he was doing ultrasounds on guys' genitals and then videotaping it and then probably like doing something really disgusting after they left with the videos.
Yeah, I mean, they said totally separately he stood trial in April on a misdemeanor charge of voyeurism, but he was acquitted. And then this comes out later.
We say this all the time, especially with people that are working in medicine. To be a medical resident is not an easy thing to do. You know, you have to go to 4 years of undergrad college, and then you have to do 4 years of medical school, and then you have to get a residency. The whole thing's highly competitive. You have to take tests in order to pass to get through all of these different parts of medicine, and then you finally get a residency, which is you're considered to be a doctor, but you're not an attending physician yet. You still have to finish that and usually do fellowships afterwards. But to think that a person would go through all this and then do something like this, I can't even imagine that if he was even allowed to finish his residency and become an attending physician, that any place in their right mind would hire somebody that's done something like this.
No, I highly doubt that.
I don't even know what his residency was in, but regardless, it's just really bizarre. And but I have to tell you about some of the comments posted underneath. One guy I really love the comment section sometimes on just anything in general. Gabe and I always send videos back and forth to each other, and it's just like read the comments. There are some like true comedic geniuses out there that just aren't showing it with some of the comments that people write. I mean, this one's not like completely genius. I just thought it was funny, but someone put, "Great, free handy, no copay, I'm in." So funny, but I mean, the whole situation's not funny, and the way that the story's written, you're just like, okay, what person in their right mind would just go to someone's house to get this done? But I could see, I guess he was trying to say that he was doing some kind of like research or something to help people with their health, and he wanted to do, I don't know, like, I guess you could see how people fell for this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was one of those things too where it happens and you, like you're saying, this guy goes home and talks to his wife about it and he's like, I feel weird about this, but do you also think it's weird? Because it's like a really unusual situation, because I think everybody in their right mind wants to think the best of everybody. You don't want to think that a guy you were in a running group with just took you back to his apartment and totally took advantage of you for his own perverted needs.
And the wife was probably staring at him like, yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you hear it from being outside the situation, she was probably like, what are you, an idiot? Like, of course he was. I just think it's funny.
It reminded me of the time that when we were living in the city, Ricky went out to get us coffees and he comes in the house and he goes, some guy just pulled a machete on me. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, he just started screaming at me and pulled a machete on me. And then, then he drove away because he was in the car. And I'm like, okay, well, we have to call the police. And he's like, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, like you're just like, that's... I do think that that's happens sometimes, that you have an experience and you don't really realize it's as bad as like someone hearing the story outside does. You know, it's just like a weird thing people's brain does.
Because you know me, I immediately was like so upset about it. And he was just like, what's the big deal? What are you even talking about? This is
You're
crazy.
like, that person probably shouldn't be going around the city.
If he was driving like a minivan,
the police would they even come if you called them at that point anyway?
No, I called and reported it, and they were like, do you have a license plate? And I was like, no. And they were basically like, well, what do you want us to do about it?
What do you want them to do? Oh, you're in the city of Philadelphia. There's millions of people, and you're like, oh, there's a guy in South Philly in a minivan. Like, that's not helpful even a little bit. Like, you shouldn't even have bothered.
They don't give a shit.
let's talk. So this case has been circulating the news this week about this teenager, which has just had an incredibly sad ending, which unfortunately is what I suspected would happen.
Yeah, so he's 18 years old. His name's Giovanni Pelletier. So he was visiting Florida with his mother and her fiance, hoping to reconnect with his dad's side of the family. So his dad was in jail, but he had made plans to meet up with his cousins. A couple days in the trip, the cousins pick him up at 1:30 in the morning. They said they were going to be making a 3-hour trip back to where they lived. I guess on the other, I think they were on the Gulf side, and the cousins lived on the Atlantic side. So the kid gets picked up 1:30 in the morning, and only 25 minutes later texts the mom help, but she was sleeping, so she didn't see it until the next morning. And he had texted a couple other family members for help too. And by the time the mom wakes up and she gets in contact, the kid is gone. She talks to the cousins. They're like, "Oh, I don't know. We were smoking weed and he pulled a knife out and was acting crazy and he got out on the side of the road." Like, totally against his character, according to the rest of the family.
Yeah, and so when I heard this, I was just like, we've talked about this with weed in the past, and just how some of it is a lot stronger, like more potent strains of it, and especially with kids of this age, that there's this increased risk of psychosis happening with marijuana that we've been seeing documented cases of. So I'm wondering if it's something as simple as that, or the weed had something else in it that was causing, like, I don't think that it might not be untrue that he smoked something and started having psychosis, and it freaked the cousins out to the point where they dropped him off and were like, yo, because they don't really know him either, right?
Well, it seems like the leading theory is that they did something to him. But do you think if he did smoke weed and it was weed-induced psychosis, that it would kick in 25 minutes? I mean, that seems pretty fast.
Yes. Yeah, why not? I mean, I don't think that that's out of the realm of possibility at all. It gets, especially smoking it gets in your system so fast. They're doing an autopsy, obviously. So go ahead and tell about how they found the body and stuff.
Yeah, so his phone and backpack were found on the side of the road about an hour away, and then they ended up finding his remains in a retention pond off of I-75. But the family's mad because they said the police had initially looked in that area and did not find him, and it wasn't until later, when they had a private investigator look into it, that person ended up finding him. So I also read this morning that they want the FBI to get involved because they just felt like they were blown off about the search for the kid. He was missing for over a week.
Well, the family has, and I don't know what the deal is with the private investigator, but the family has definitely made it a point to make social media posts to say, like, they are the ones that found the body, not the police.
Yeah.
So I don't really know how they, I guess, I mean, obviously, like, I would do the same thing if I called the police and they weren't really doing anything. And we hear this from time to time on stories that we cover on this show, that especially if you call the police and say you can't get a hold of an 18-year-old, they don't really take that seriously.
Yeah,
unless the person's
adult.
missing for X amount of days or something. And it's unfortunate because technically an 18-year-old is an adult, but it's, if you're a mother, that's still your baby, and you know how they act. And I feel like with the text messages that said help me, that should have maybe had police take it more seriously, because it's not just like, oh, I can't get a hold of this kid. Like, he literally was like, help me. And the whole situation is he's with people that I'm not sure that he ever met before. That the whole thing is weird anyway. Like, who picks someone up for a family reunion at 1:30 in the morning to drive 3 hours across the state? Of course the mother was sleeping, because, like, that's what people do in the middle of the night, is sleep.
Yeah.
But I do think that it has, I mean, his body was found decomposed, unfortunately, which is terrible way if the family was involved and saw him that way. But they're saying it doesn't look like there was any foul play yet. So to me, it's like, well, he doesn't look like he was shot. He doesn't look like he was stabbed, and he doesn't look like he was beat up. But, like, obviously they have to do the autopsy and do x-rays and do the internal exam and do toxicology. But I understand that they're saying that it looks like the cousins did something to him, but very well their story could be legit, that he was just, I mean, listen, they're going to be, I assume that they can be charged with something, because if he was having some kind of a mental condition, you can't just drop, especially he's not from there or anything. You can't just drop a person off at the side of the road and like let them fend for themselves when they're in that situation.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what the autopsy is gonna show up, like turn up, because I think that's gonna, you know, I'm hoping it's straightforward, because if it's not inconclusive or whatever, could it be inconclusive because of the state of his body? I'm saying that because I could see it, if it doesn't give a clear-cut answer as to what happened, this turning into a really sensationalized
I
case.
think that he was decomposed, but I don't know that he, like, how decomposed he was. I mean, he was only missing for like not too long, right?
He was missing over a week.
Oh.
And it's Florida. It's
They'll
hot.
They'll still be able to see a lot of things with the autopsy. Like, for example, if he was in any kind of a fight, they'll sometimes they could still see the hemorrhage in the soft tissue, but they'll definitely be able to see if there's any kind of broken bones or any kind of wounds on the bones that would indicate that he was stabbed or something like that. And obviously, if he was shot, the same thing. So they'll be able to tell, and they'll also be able to get some fluid for toxicology to see what's going on there. I mean, weed, like we're saying weed's potent and stuff right now, which could just happen with like regular weed, but weed is laced with shit all the time too, knowingly and unknowingly. So I mean, if you're buying it obviously from like a legit pharmacy around here, you're good as far as it not having some other kind of drug mixed in with it. But you could have like angel dust, PCP, anything like that inside it, which is also a hallucinogen. And like, honestly, I'm not, I don't want to say, because the whole situation's weird, but you just can't blame either side right now because we don't know anything. But I mean, if I picked up a cousin that I've been talking to on Facebook for a couple years that I never met in real life, and we decided to smoke weed together, and they pulled a knife out and started acting crazy, I might want to drop them off at the side of the road too. Like,
well,
you know what I mean? Like,
you don't
if
even
that's
know
what
if
happened.
that's what happened.
No,
so
yeah, we don't. But
I just hope the
you have to stay
family-
open-minded in situations like that because we don't know.
Yeah, and I hope the family just gets the answers they need. Like, because I just see it, the potential for it to end up being like a Karen Reed type of thing. Like, there's not conclusive answers to what happened.
Everything is going to be like this from now on because of the internet.
No, I know.
Unfortunately.
So hopefully the autopsy is conclusive and they get answers so they can try to find peace with it, you know, because it's a tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this video is going around where this woman is claiming that when she got pregnant, her face just became completely unrecognizable.
So in this video, she shows before and after pictures, and this video has gotten millions of views, 116 million views. And so many people are interested in it because she looks drastically different from picture 1 to picture 2. But also so many people are like, yeah, you don't look like that, so we don't even believe you right now. And then so she said she's not posting about it anymore because she's gotten so much backlash over it.
So I went on her TikTok page because, yes, the before picture they use is extremely face-tuned. I mean, it's impossible to tell what this person really looks like. But when you do go look at other videos of her, I could see what she kind of looked like minus all the filters beforehand. I don't think she had this drastic situation going on her face before she claimed she got pregnant. So what do you think?
I agree. Like, I think, and I don't know, is the picture that's in this article the one that she was using to be like, this is what I looked like before and this is what I look like now?
Yeah, in the video that is, but I don't think that was an accurate representation.
No, it absolutely wasn't. Like, when I looked at that, I'm just like, she looks like one of those
like an anime character.
Like an anime character.
Just because there's like settings on Facetune and they were just clearly turned all the way up. It's like the 90 chick.
And this is just like something I want to talk about in general, because like all of these people are putting these pictures like on their profile, and they're like, is that girl legitimately think that that's what she looked like? Because she didn't look like that, and you're trying to tell us that's what you look like, and like, you don't look like that.
The thing that I thought was weird though is if you go through her page, the other content she has is not as heavily filtered like that. So I don't understand why that was the reference point. Maybe she's just a social media genius and she used that one because she knew it would get a lot of debate and her a lot of views.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that could totally be possible. But I do think that there are people though that try to pass that off. Is that what that's what they look like? And
That's what I was just gonna say. That chick from 90 Day Fiance, Darcy. I mean, Teresa Giudice from Real Housewives of New Jersey. She does it that extreme, and it's like, what is happening? You're
yeah,
on television.
and
People
you
know
could
what
tell,
you look like.
yeah, but you could tell us that that's what you look like, and like, God, Khloe Kardashian was doing it hardcore a couple years ago,
Oh
and
yeah.
you're just like, dude, you could sit there and tell us that that's what you look like, but you don't look like that. I hate those. I hate those filters. I hate any filter, honestly. Like, I just think it's, I was very happy when I met someone in Atlanta and they were like, you look exactly the same. And I'm like, yeah, because I don't put a weird filter on my face. Like, this is what I look like in real life. Take it or leave it. Like, anyway. All right. So when you look at what she really looks like and then what she looks like in pregnancy, it's still very drastic, but it's also believable. Because when you're pregnant, lots of different things go on with your body, and you could talk about this, like, just talk to so many women. And actually, I wanted to tell you guys, if you guys have any stories of like crazy things that happen to your body when you're pregnant, you could always email us and let us know, because I think we're going to start doing some emails on top of the questions that we do at the end of this episode, just because we want to hear your stories as well. But when you're pregnant, a couple different things happen, and one is when you get towards the end of pregnancy after 30 weeks, you actually start making more blood in your body, which is really cool that women can do this. And it's kind of like this evolutionary thing because there's so much blood loss during childbirth. So you have this increase of blood in your body, not only for that, but just to help this growing parasite inside of your body. And you also have an increase of estrogen, which dilates the blood vessels as well. So in your nose, for example, when you're sick and your nose just gets kind of swollen, it's very red and it just looks like it's bigger than it normally is. That's because your nose is just different than the skin on your cheek, for example, because you have all of these mucus cells and everything underneath of that. And when all of that gets angry and inflamed, it could just make it seem like it's larger, because on your cheeks, like, you have fat, but in your nose, there's not really fat or anything. So, and you're staring in the mirror and you're looking and it's just like, okay, this looks huge compared to how it did look. So there's not an official condition called pregnancy nose, but lots of different women have experienced it. And it's something that, like, legit can be explained physiologically, what's going on in a pregnant body. And then, so that would explain why her nose looks so much larger. And then she also looks like she has pregnancy acne as well.
Yeah, but it's not like a couple pimples. It looks like she has an insane rash on her face.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is what so people that get pregnancy acne are usually people that, if you get it like in the first week of your period, you're more likely to get it in the first trimester of pregnancy. And then you could carry on with it throughout the rest of your pregnancy. And the problem is if you're, I mean, like, some people, like you and I, for example, are people that get like a zit here or there. But some people that have full on acne, if you've seen people that have it really severe as a teenager, they have to go on some pretty hardcore medications to really treat it and get rid of it. And if you're prone to that, you can get, which I'm not, this is just my opinion. I'm not trying to diagnose her by video, but I am at the same time. Like, her skin without the filter looks like she had an acne problem at some point in her life. She just has like scars that would be consistent with acne. So now she's pregnant. She's at an increased risk of getting it again. And you can't take like the Accutane. I don't even know if Accutane's the proper drug anymore, but you can't take anything.
Any acne products.
So that could be why it just looks extra angry, or whatever she was doing to treat it could just make her skin, like, it looks like she's got full-blown acne on her face, but on top of that, it looks very swollen and angry, which just makes it look more drastic. So I I don't believe that that part of the story is fake even a little bit. Like that photo looks like something that could really happen, and it is even strikingly different from her real appearance. And lots of like I could tell you like my feet got bigger when I was pregnant. There's just like different things that happen to everyone's body. So I am curious if you guys have had anything like that. I don't really recall my nose getting bigger. But I do know that my nose gets big. Like it was big last week because my nose was like super inflamed because of allergies and stuff. So like you've noticed that, right, on yourself? Like if
Yeah,
you
like
know when
if
you get that like weird like burning in the tip of your nose and like the snot is like pouring out of your face.
yeah, like when I'm sick, I've definitely noticed
Yeah,
it.
so it's kind of a similar thing.
It's like being pregnant must be hard enough, and then you have to deal with all this other bullshit too. It just seems really
Yeah,
unfair.
it it really is. There's lots of I had a friend that got a really crazy rash on her arms being pregnant, and it left like permanent scarring on her arms.
Jesus.
There's a lot of things that could happen. That's why when people choose to be a surrogate, I'm always like that's it, like pregnancy isn't considered just like a benign kind of condition your body goes under. It's a lot.
No, but there's like people like mom that are like, I felt the best I ever did when I was
Yeah.
pregnant. And I mean, I haven't been, so like, I just can't imagine that's going to be my experience. But like, I feel like, I don't know, you could speak for your own pregnancies, but I feel like witnessing you, it wasn't like the best experience of your life.
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely good parts of it because I didn't get any headaches the entire time I was pregnant, which was awesome. Like, I didn't get my period, obviously, when I was pregnant, so those things are always a positive. Um, but like, there's just so many other things that happen. Like, and I was kind of fine. Like, I never got sick with the throwing up and all that stuff. I never had that ever. And some people like really go through it and feel terrible, but I was opposite. Like as far as like my appetite went, I was never nauseous and like definitely feeding for 2, if not 5. So
You were on a Big Mac kick with Lillian.
yeah, like oh my god, it's just terrible, and cupcakes and just like terrible. I gained so much weight, and I remember my obstetrician was like, "Oh, why don't we send you to a nutritionist because we have to see why you're gaining so much weight." And I was just like, I eat like 2 donuts every day for breakfast, and like I know why I'm gaining weight. There's no one that's going to tell me how to change my diet. I know that I can. I just don't want to because I just want to eat everything in sight. It was terrible.
All right, let's move on to questions of the day. Every Friday at the @MotherKnowsDeath Instagram account, you guys can head over to our story and ask whatever you want. First, could you do anything within CSI or the lab while being colorblind?
So this is actually a really good question. So I believe I went to cytology school such a long time ago, back in 2000. Um, I do recall them giving us a color blind test. And I do recall it being an issue if you were colorblind. I didn't have any particular students in my class that were, but especially when you're doing cytology and you're looking at cells under the microscope and you really need to know if because some of the cytoplasm turns different colors in certain situations, and you really need to know you really need to be able to accurately see the colors in order to see different changes in the cells. So I would say depending on what kind of color blindness you had, you would not be able to be a cytotechnologist for sure. I don't see why it would be a problem in the other parts of the lab, like the clinical laboratory, if you were a medical technologist doing like hematology or blood bank or something like that. I don't see that being a problem. Being a PA, you definitely should be able to recognize different colors in the disease process for certain situations, but I still don't think that that would be considered a deal breaker because you could just see other things associated with it. Um, I don't know. I mean, we have to describe the colors of things sometimes, but I don't know if it's that important as it is with cytology. So, and then CSI, I'm not sure exactly. because I never worked in that field, but
You
I'm
could ask
assuming that
Cheryl.
yeah, we could ask Cheryl for sure. Um, I'm assuming no, like you should be fine. I don't think that you would be um like excluded for that. So, but that's a good question.
All right. If a loved one passed away, would I be able to request to keep a tooth?
So, um, you, I listen. If you ever want something like that, you could. That would be something that I would recommend that you ask the funeral home.
I feel like because of what happened with David Sconce, I don't think they're allowed to take teeth out anymore.
No, I don't. They could, but that has nothing to do with like if you have a written permission form from a family. That's why wouldn't they do that?
Because then he would fake a written permission form.
Who?
Remember they were taking all the people's teeth out for their fillings and stuff? I feel like after that some regulation was passed where they're not allowed to remove things like that anymore.
I don't know if that's true. I really don't know what happens in the funeral home. I could just tell you, we've had a couple situations like that people. The only thing that we would ever give back to a family is like if a person was wearing like a wedding ring or something. I would never ever cut off a body part and give it to a family member. But we've had requests like, can I have a lock of this person's hair or something like that? And we just say, we're sending the body to the funeral home and they could deal with that. Like, that's nothing that we would ever do. And I, I suppose that the funeral home has the ability to pull out a tooth, but like, they really, I mean, they could use a pair of pliers, honestly, like it would work. But there's like Maria was talking about this case of the Lamb Funeral Home. What was the name of that documentary on Netflix?
Yeah, The Mortician on
The
HBO.
Mortician on HBO. Um, there's never a situation that I could foresee that a funeral home would have to take out someone's teeth. But also sometimes people have like a grill or they have like gold in their teeth. And they might have a gold tooth with an initial that somebody would want to keep. And I don't see what the problem is if the family requests that getting that. It just would have to be documented properly. And I mean, I'd love to just talk to a funeral director and hear some of the weird requests that people have, because I'm sure people have asked for legit body parts. Like, who knows? It's just people have some weird requests. So,
All right, last. What's an important quality you try to instill in your kids?
I didn't even really think about this. I obviously I have lots of life lessons. So now they're approaching being teenagers. So like a huge one is, and I think that this was with Maria too, was just trying to have them have like a true establishment of their self and not going along with what everyone is going along with, which is hard because I feel like it's even worse now, right? Like Gabe and I went to the boardwalk recently, and you're walking on the boardwalk and you see all these kids that like you don't even know where they're from. They could be from around here, they could be from Philly, or they could be from another state, town, country. Even lots of people come from Canada and stuff. And Gabe was just like, all these kids are dressed the same, like from all over, because
Yeah.
they all do Pinterest and they all do TikTok and Instagram stuff. They all like look the same, right? And I guess something could be said about that. It's a little bit different than when we were kids, but like there was definitely a part in the 80s where it was like everyone was dressing like Madonna and everybody was dressing like Debbie Gibson and all the, just things like that. But it almost is interesting to think about having, let's say, for example, back in the 80s, like kids from California versus kids from New Jersey, where like they all dress the same, and it probably would not be the same just because regionally you only know what you know and what you see on TV, basically. So, but it's not just about the clothes and everything, though. It's just about, because that transfers over into them when they get older, like their friends having sex and their friends doing drugs and their friends drinking and stuff. And um I just really try to say that to them all the time, just like, you do what you want to do, and be who you are, and don't change for any of your friends or to fit in. And I think that that's hard, like a hard lesson, don't you think so?
Yeah, because it's easier to just go with the flow, obviously.
And just like stupid things like when and everyone's guilty of it to a certain extent throughout their life, and it's just like certain things when I got older and I was in college and everyone wanted to go to the bar and go drinking, and I'd be like, okay, and then I would go and I would just be miserable all night, and then I would think something was wrong with me. I'd be like, I really wish like all these people are drinking and having fun, and like I'm just like, I hate this so bad. Why do I hate this so bad? And really I should have just been like, you know what, like been honest with myself. That's not for me, and I don't want to do that. I'm going to stay home when you guys go out. I'll be happier being home. Just there's nothing,
Well,
but like sometimes you're worried that people are going to like judge you for that, you know? Cuz you don't want to do that.
on a similar note to that, because we're very similar with drinking stuff, like it took me until, my late 20s, really in the last couple years, to just be like, if I do go out, I don't have to drink because everybody else is drinking.
Yeah. It's like a peer pressure thing in a way, even, and it takes a lot for you to be strong enough to just be like, no, this is what I want to do, and I don't have to do what all you are doing, and we could all still hang out and be friends.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just a matter of like really not caring what other people think of you, and it's hard to live like that. It
Yeah.
really is hard to live like that.
And when you're a little kid like my kid's age, it's hard, like you're kind of you're desperate for friends. Desperate, you just want to have friends because it's the center of your life right now is friends. And who they make friends with is very important as to how they grow up and who they surround themselves with. And listen, we've had a couple situations where kids have been like, they just suck, and I have to sit there and talk to the kids and just be like, listen, like, would you, because Lillian especially has a best friend that like is just the best, right? And she's now the comparison for every other person that she becomes friends with. When she has problems with other friends, I just say like, would you fight with so and so like this? Would they ever say that to you? Would they ever treat you like this? And you just have to, there's just a lot to teach them about having respect for themselves now and what they tolerate and how they tolerate being treated, because I feel like that bleeds into them dating. And that's when shit could get really bad. Like them taking shit from a guy or a girl, whoever they decide to date, like not being treated well, because that could go all the way into adulthood and their marriage and everything else. So it's just like it all goes together, you know? And that's like, I guess that's the biggest thing, is that I just am trying to work on like them being confident in themselves and like who they're being friends with.
Well, on a funny side note about dressing in the 80s and being trendy, I think I want to show our YouTube people this picture of Mom in the 80s and her hair where it looks like she was electrocuted, but she claims that it was perfectly on brand and trendy for the time. But look at this.
Oh my God. Wait, so, like, okay, so how old am I in that picture? That was when she
Oh
was
wait,
pregnant.
I'll show the extended
All right.
picture.
So this is
you.
I hated that freaking crown too. So this was in 1987. She was pregnant with Louis, which means that I was 8 years old.
Okay.
So she was, in that photograph, she's 30. Put it back up.
She said she was 30. Yeah, she's my age in this picture.
Just put it back up.
Ricky said she looked like Marv from Home Alone.
Like, her hair is seriously a solid 6 inches.
She
Like,
swears it was the trending hairstyle. I'm like, there's just no way.
Why does she look better approaching 70 than she did when she was 30? Like, really?
We really should do a photo montage of some of her best looks.
Actually-
Nobody wanted to do this, but on the cruise, I was like, for dinner, we should do the Kris Jenner thing and all dress like one of her outrageous outfits
I
for
wouldn't
dinner
even
one
want to
night.
do that. You know what you should do with that picture? You should put it in like an AI program and put a normal haircut on her and be like, you would have been like the hottest chick ever if you just had normal hair.
She always
let
had
me
a weird
see.
haircut.
Let me see Pop Up next to her.
He looks exactly the same.
So he was like 40 in that. Yeah, he really does look exactly the same.
He's just like
he's not
3
like,
inches
why the hell
taller
is
than
my
now.
her head is like bigger than the entire picture. It's outrageous.
I literally cannot
I'm
get
kind of
over.
like jealous that her hair could even get that big. Like what is even happening there?
I bet you we get a text later that says humpers.
Yeah, she calls us humpers, and that was wait. I should find that conversation was like a little bit. We
That
don't
was
even
getting
understand.
Completely unhinged, that conversation.
It really was. I'm trying to look for it, like
It
in
was
one
in
of our
the family group chat.
like a family group chat. I'm trying to, because that was kind of a while ago. But oh wait, this might be it. So we don't even know where she got that. So she calls us humpers because we were like making fun of her over something, because my brother and sister also make fun of her all the time too. So then I send her back this screenshot that I took from that. Remember that website Urban Dictionary? And it says, humper, a morbid obese man who is obsessed with humping random objects around his home. He spends most of his time in his bathroom humping the shower curtain. He also fantasizes about a Hispanic girl named Vanessa watching him as he humps the objects. Oh, what fun he has. And she writes back and puts, you ruin everything. Like, I'm the problem here right now, right? It was, and then I said, I'm sorry, does it have a nicer meaning? And she's like, it's a term of endearment. Like,
she claims it's some British term of endearment.
Okay, well, anybody from the UK that's listening, please fill us in to what humper means, because we have no idea, and it just doesn't sound right coming out of an old lady's mouth. I'm sorry.
So your guys' favorite guest, B. Qualls, aka Mom, calls all of her children and grandchildren humpers, a man that humps inanimate objects around an apartment.
Shower curtains.
Real nice. All right, guys, we will be in CrimeCon from September 5th to the 7th. The schedule is officially out. You guys have to check it out. It is so outrageous. We are geeking out over half the sessions. We can't wait to be there. If you have a review for us, please leave it on Apple or Spotify, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and send us stories to stories@motherknowsdeath.com.
Is that where they could also send us comments too?
Yeah, they could send us their own personal experiences, comments, whatever they want to that email.
You know what else too? I want to say, like, we would like to say your name if you're okay with that, but just just let us know if you want to be anonymous or not. But yeah, we really want to like share some of your stories and stuff, so that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, we will see you guys tomorrow.
All right, see ya. Thank you for listening to Mother Knows Death. As a reminder, my training is as a pathologist assistant. I have a master's level education and specialize in anatomy and pathology education. I am not a doctor, and I have not diagnosed or treated anyone, dead or alive, without the assistance of a licensed medical doctor. This show, my website, and social media accounts are designed to educate and inform people based on my experience working in pathology, so they can make healthier decisions regarding their life and well-being. Always remember that science is changing every day, and the opinions expressed in this episode are based on my knowledge of those subjects at the time of publication. If you are having a medical problem, have a medical question, or are having a medical emergency, please contact your physician or visit an urgent care center, emergency room, or hospital. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Mother Knows Death on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks.